this Biden official thought she could get away with it. I don't think so.
Sir, I assume that your questions directed at me were rhetorical and that you're giving...
They're not rhetorical at all. I asked you to respond and you said you wouldn't.
During a Senate hearing, Hawley went through Biden's pardon attorney's record, and since she couldn't defend it, she tried to paint his questions as a political attack. And today, we're breaking it all down. So if you believe truth isn't partisan, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Ms. Oyer, if I could just turn to you. You were President Biden's pardon attorney, is that correct?
I was the Justice Department's pardon attorney.
You made clemency recommendations to the White House whether or not to pardon inmates, is that correct?
My job was to make clemency recommendations.
And in that capacity, you recommended that the President of the United States, Joe Biden, grant clemency to all 40 federal death row inmates, all of them, clear them out, correct?
Sir, as I told Chairman Grassley, I'm not free to discuss the recommendations.
Well, that's what your memo says.
President.
I mean, we have your memo. Your memo of November 4th, 2024 says, and I quote, disparity and undue severity of sentence, which are present in many, if not all of these cases, have been recognized as grounds for clemency. And you went on to recommend in that memo and a series of other memos that are now recorded and public record that the President of the United States grant clemency to murderers, rapists, and the most horrible offenders, all of them, clear death row completely out. I'm amazed you've been called here today. I'm absolutely amazed by it.
This hearing was the second day of Todd Blanche's confirmation proceedings, and the Democrats brought Oyer as a witness since she was fired by Blanche last year. And, of course, she tried to frame herself as some sort of a hero, saying, quote, I declined to rubber stamp a political favor for a friend of the president, and it cost me my job. As for the specific cases Hawley mentioned, public record shows the recommendation for commuting these sentences came from Merrick Garland, who relied on, quote, a series of memoranda from Elizabeth Oyer, which eventually led to Biden acting on them near the end of 2024. Hawley then walked through several of the criminals she recommended for clemency, and let's just say it's worse than you ever imagined.
Let's start with Dylann Roof. Dylann was a neo-Nazi who murdered 9 African-American worshipers at a Bible study in Charleston, South Carolina, 2015. Do you remember this case?
I do remember it very well.
I would hope you did. Here's his victims. You want to look at them? The DOJ knew from day one that he had decided, I'm going to quote from the prosecutors, decided to attack African Americans because of their race. He further decided to attack African American worshipers in a black church in order to make his attack more notorious. More notorious. And yet you recommended that he be granted clemency, live at the expense of taxpayers for the rest of his life, substitute your judgment for that of the American judicial system. Do you stand by that recommendation today?
Sir, I'm not going to comment on the recommendations that I made, but I can tell you that Mr. Roof is going to die in prison as...
He's going to live in prison for a very long time because of you, because of your recommendations. And here's what you said in your memo of October 30th, 2024. You said that actually Roof is not a compelling candidate for clemency, but you recommended it anyway. Why? Because he suffered from anxiety.
Well, what about the anxiety of the families of those victims to have to live with? I mean, if justice isn't being served, it defeats the core purpose of any judicial system. Because what's the point if there aren't consequences that match the crimes being committed? What makes this worse is the fact that in her memos to Garland, Oyer, quote, gave little weight to the views of victims from whom they had heard. And in her 73-page commendation recommendation, she, quote, expended only 3 paragraphs discussing the views of victims' families. Now, to put things into further perspective, she also recommended clemency for the Boston Marathon bomber. But Biden and Garland ultimately rejected it. Hawley brought up even more examples, leading to a heated back and forth. Now, before we play that, though, we have a message from today's sponsor, Cloaked. Now, they actually challenged me to see how exposed my personal information really is. So, I typed in my phone number on their website, and apparently, my threat level is high. It even found information like my social security number. I mean, the reason is simple. Data brokers make billions collecting and selling our personal information every time we sign up for apps, websites, or online services. Cloaked tackles that problem before it starts. It shows you where your data is exposed and removes it. And it gives you unlimited burner emails, phone numbers, and usernames so companies and data brokers never get your real information in the first place. Plus, Cloaked monitors the dark web, including a VPN, a password manager, AI spam call filtering, and $1 million in identity theft insurance. So, just go to cloaked.com/red-white-rational, enter your phone number, and run the free security scan. It takes just a few seconds, and you might be surprised by what it finds. So if you're ready to take back your privacy, use cloaked.com/red-white-rational to get 30% off any plan.
Let's talk about Robert Bowers, a man who regularly spewed such vile hatred of Jews, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. He barged into a Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018 and he shot everybody he could find, killing 11 innocent people who were there to worship. A federal jury in Pittsburgh unanimously recommended the death sentence after finding him guilty on 63 counts. Here they are. They're his victims. Take a good look. You recommended clemency for this person who went in and killed these people just because they're Jews. The other guy killed people just because they're black. This guy killed people just because they're Jews. A jury recommended that he be sentenced to death, and you substituted your judgment for theirs, and now he's going to live. Are you proud of that?
Sir, what I am proud of is the fact that I took my job as pardon attorney extremely seriously.
Apparently not seriously enough. You certainly didn't take the victims seriously.
Okay, she definitely didn't. Here's what the DOJ report said. Quote, all victims' families supported commutation in only 4 of the 22 cases. In 7 cases, they had varying views, and in another 11 cases, all victims opposed it. As for the remaining 18 cases, Oyer didn't even bother reaching out to them, as her memo simply stated that she had, quote, no information about their views. But instead of explaining why she made those recommendations, Elizabeth tried to frame Hawley's questions as politically motivated, thinking he'd just sit there and accept her mental gymnastics.
I just asked my friends on this side of the aisle, do you agree with this? Is this what you want? Do you want these people to be pardoned and live at the expense of taxpayers for their whole lives? Do you want to excuse the murders of African-American churchgoers? Do you want to excuse the murders of Jews in their synagogues? Do you want to excuse the murders of these children? Because that's what she did, and now she's online hawking products to try to make money off of it. I see you've got your own website where you put your face on baseball caps and mugs, Oyer.com. You're trying to make money on this?
Sir,
This is unbelievable, Ms. Oyer, and yet you say you're a victim? These are the victims.
Sir, I assume that your questions directed at me were rhetorical and that you're giving
They're not
a speech.
rhetorical at all. I asked you to respond, and you said you wouldn't. So what I did is I read to you what you have said. I quoted verbatim, and I'm happy to keep doing it. In fact, I'd ask now, Mr. Chairman, that this report, Restoring and Strengthening the Federal Death Penalty Report, be entered into the record. It contains information regarding Ms. Oyer, her recommendations, and the track record of all of it. The written records are here. I asked to be entered into the record.
Okay. There are a couple of key takeaways from this exchange. First, it's hard to understand why Democrats would choose to put forward an official with such a controversial record in a high-profile hearing. Second, while Oyer may be in the spotlight here, her approach reflects a broader trend within a good chunk of the Democratic Party, as well as many of its wings, where soft on-crime policies have become increasingly common. We've covered this pattern in plenty of previous videos, and whether it's driven by ideology or not, many of these policies have had real consequences for everyday Americans.